Tonight on Cronkite News, a controversial immigration proposition on this year's ballot and its effect on communities and local law enforcement.
Plus, Halloween is almost upon us, which means many will be out celebrating. But find out why it can also be a scary time for some members of our community. And the World Series is in New York for the first time in 15 years. See how much Yankee fans need to pay for a ticket to the Fall Classic.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Wilder Adams.
And I'm Anna McClure. Thank you for joining us.
We begin with new reaction today from Vice President Kamala Harris after controversial comments by President Joe Biden. The comments stem from President Trump's rally in Madison Square Garden over the weekend, where a speaker referred to Puerto Rico as a, quote, floating island of garbage. In response, Biden called supporters of Trump, quote, garbage immediately following the comments. The White House clarified Biden's comments, saying the president was talking about Trump's rhetoric, not his supporters. And earlier today, Vice President Kamala Harris distanced herself from the comment.
First of all, he clarified his comments, but let me be clear, I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for. You heard my speech last night and continuously throughout my career. I believe that the work that I do is about representing all the people, whether they support me or not. And as President of the United States, I will be a president for all Americans, whether you vote for me or not.
Later in the day, Trump gave his own response to President Biden's comment while campaigning in Rocky Mount, North Carolina.
My response to Joe and Kamala is very simple. You can't lead America if you don't love Americans. You just can't. And you can't be president if you hate the American people. And there's a lot of hatred there.
Both candidates are hosting campaign events today in North Carolina and Wisconsin, and both will hold rallies here in Arizona tomorrow.
There's a controversial proposition on this year's ballot. As Cronkite News reporter Ignacio Ventura tells us, if passed, Prop 314 will make crossing the international border a state crime.
Thank you, Anna. If Proposition 314 passes, state authorities can arrest those who cross the border without proper documentation. One activist group, however, says they won't tolerate it because they consider it to be racist. Protesters line up across the sidewalk outside of the Mount of Olives Lutheran Church in Phoenix. They air out their anger and frustrations.
The experience of being out here protesting against this proposition is very powerful because it sends out a message that we're united and we're aware of what they're trying to do and what they're trying to pass. Prop 314 reminds people of SB 1070, legislation that allowed enforcement of immigration laws by local authorities. People still remember the era of Sheriff Joe Arpaio, which they don't want to return to.
The only thing that it's going to do is going to continue the trauma that Black and brown communities have suffered with the department, with the sheriff's department, and with the racist culture of the state.
Current Maricopa Sheriff Russ Skinner said at a meeting following the protest that his office would not enforce the proposition if passed. State Senator John Kavanaugh does not see eye to eye with the arguments made against this proposition.
Well, there's nothing racist in this law because the people crossing the border illegally come from all over the world, and they represent people of all races and ethnicities.
Other criticisms against the proposition include its associated financial costs and concerns about health inequities. In Phoenix, Ignacio Ventura, Cronkite News.
We're just a day away from Halloween, and it can be a fun time for kids as well as adults.
But it can also be a terrifying time for some people. Lizette Calderon joins us now to explain why.
Yeah, Halloween can be a fun, spooky time for many, but for those living with dementia, it can be especially frightening. That's because dementia affects thinking, memory, and reasoning, so loud sounds, flashing lights, and scary costumes can cause sensory overload, anxiety, and fear. If you're spending the holiday with someone with dementia, you can help by planning calm activities like making caramel apples or decorating pumpkins. Help them by interacting with trick-or-treaters and make sure to stay with them at all times when engaging in Halloween-related activities. In Arizona, there are over 150,000 people living with Alzheimer's disease. Remember, it's important to spread awareness so Halloween can be safe and enjoyable for everyone.
Coming up next, students are getting the chance to learn outside of the classroom.
An organization is now providing art and education for students.
Anytime we can take kids out of school, out of the classroom for a little bit so they can experience the stuff that they only hear about or see on the internet or on TV, it's a great experience for them.
Find out how students are improving their education in art material. This and more after the break.
I'm Elizabeth Klein. The temperatures are dropping and it's getting even more chilly. Find out your Halloween and 8-day forecast coming up next.
When I was younger, there were no engineers around me, so I had to become my own role model. At ASU, I wasn't just learning to be an engineer, I was actually engineering. And graduating, I already had real-world jobs lined up. Before ASU, my goal was to be a strong, confident woman. And when I left, I became a strong, confident engineer.
People have always had trouble trying to put me into a box. A professor, suit and tie is just not me. Without the ocean, I don't know what I would do. You know, the ocean's always been there for me. As Hawaiian people, we believe that the coral is the first living being to come out of the darkness. It's the foundation of our entire lifestyle, and that's what my research is about. What we do is we take photographs of the reef over long periods of time to create models that can tell us what the planet is doing. If we go deaf to what the Earth is telling us, then we'll never be able to live in harmony. If I can get my students excited about protecting the ocean, then they're the ones who are gonna really make the difference. I hope my students realize that I'm not trying to prepare them for something in the distant future. Their time is now at Arizona State University.
Do you remember how fun it was to go on field trips in middle school?
Well, Cronkite News reporter Sienna Monet tells us about how one organization is making field trips available for students who may not have the opportunity to learn outside of the classroom.
Hundreds of students from across the valley get a chance to learn outside the classroom at the Orpheum Theater in downtown Phoenix.
Anytime we can take kids out of school, out of the classroom for a little bit so they can experience the stuff that they only hear about or see on the internet or on TV, it's a great experience for them.
This experience is part of the kickoff event for Act One, an organization that provides art and education to students in Title I schools who might not otherwise be able to afford a trip to the symphony. The kickoff event features a performance by the Tetris String Quartet. While classical music may not seem exciting for everyone, sixth graders at Sunland STEAM Academy, Milani Duran and Yoselin Suarez, say they really enjoyed the show.
I just think it was so beautiful, like seeing all the seeing the violin, the cello, like it was very different to hear the different notes.
For me, it was how they could express emotions with the violin and everything, and the cello.
Act One's field trip operations manager, Emmanuel David Klaas, explains that the organization not only focuses on taking students to art events, but also bringing art education to students.
Well, right now, Title I schools in Arizona, 40% of them don't have access to 2 or more art forms. Most of them have access to only 1, and some of them have access to none. What we do is we help handle the financial burden to keep it from being a barrier for entry for the students in Arizona.
Klaas says that access to the arts can significantly impact youth development, improving behavioral and cognitive skills, especially for students in Title I schools.
Most kids will never have the opportunity to experience a concert like this or the arts in general.
Act One has connected nearly 400,000 students to hear symphonies like this since its start in 2011. This year, they plan to provide more than 250 field trips. In Phoenix, Sienna Monet, Cronkite News.
The program partners with over 35 cultural venues, including the Musical Instrument Museum and Ballet Arizona, to offer backstage tours and interactive sessions.
Sedona is now implementing a speed limit for off-highway vehicles. The City Council unanimously approved this measure, and it may take effect next month. This 15-mile-per-hour speed limit follows many residents' complaints. Residents say the increase in highway vehicle traffic has made their streets dangerous and disrupted their quality of life.
Boy, it's chilly this morning. I wish I brought my jacket to the newsroom this morning.
I know, tell me about it. Those cooler temperatures felt like they came out of nowhere. Elizabeth Klein joins us now from the Cronkite Weather Center with what we can expect.
Those temperatures on our commute home are going to be sitting in the low 70s. Then as we get to 8 p.m. tonight, that temperature will be down to 68 degrees. And by 10 p.m. tonight, the temperature will be at 63. Now, as we look at those temperatures for tomorrow, we're going to be in the fall mood. Phoenix will have a low of 54 degrees. We'll see a low of 49 in Tucson, 35 in Show Low, and a low temperature of 18 degrees up at the Grand Canyon. Now, as we look at those high temperatures, Phoenix will be sitting at 81 degrees. Tucson will also see that 81-degree temperature high. Show Low will have a high of 63, and we'll see a 58-degree high at the Grand Canyon. Now, just about the time the kids are heading out to trick or treat, we're going to be seeing those ideal temperatures. By 5 p.m., that temperature will be 77 degrees. And then as the night goes on, it's going to get a bit chillier. By 9 p.m., that temperature will be down to 66 degrees. Now, as we look into the weekend, by Saturday, that temperature will be 81 degrees as the high and 52 as the low. And by Sunday, we're going to be seeing a 40% chance of rain, with that temperature dipping down to 71 degrees with a low of 60. And then as we work through next week, by Wednesday, that high will increase again to 76 with a low of 50. And then by Thursday, that high temperature will be sitting at 74 degrees. In the Cronkite Weather Center, I'm Elizabeth Klein.
At least 62 people have died due to flash floods in southern and eastern Spain. Some places received up to 12 inches of rain in just a few hours.
Cars were swept away, streets were flooded, and walls were torn down. The Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said his government was going to provide all the necessary help to those who had been affected by the floods. The residents of Valencia and other nearby cities have been warned not to travel by road as rainfall warnings continue through Wednesday.
Coming up next, more than 4 years after his tragic death, people continue to honor Kobe Bryant.
An inspiration to many people around the world, especially in Los Angeles. See how the community remembers the basketball legend after the break.
When I was younger, there were no engineers around me, so I had to become my own role model. At ASU, I wasn't just learning to be an engineer, I was actually engineering. And graduating, I already had real-world jobs lined up. Before ASU, my goal was to be a strong, confident woman. And when I left, I became a strong, confident engineer.
People have always had trouble trying to put me into a box. A professor, suit and tie is just not me. Without the ocean, I don't know what I would do. You know, the ocean's always been there for me. As Hawaiian people, we believe that the coral is the first living being to come out of the darkness. It's the foundation of our entire lifestyle, and that's what my research is about. What we do is we take photographs of the reef over long periods of time to create models that can tell us what the planet is doing. If we go deaf to what the Earth is telling us, then we'll never be able to live in harmony. If I can get my students excited about protecting the ocean, then they're the ones who are gonna really make the difference. I hope my students realize that I'm not trying to prepare them for something in the distant future. Their time is now at Arizona State University.
Hello and welcome to Cronkite Sports Report. I'm your host, DeAndre Sanders. A full slate of sports, so let's get into it. Last night, the Yankees hosted the Dodgers in Game 4 of the World Series, trying to avoid a sweep. Freddie Freeman homered in the first inning to give the Dodgers an early lead. It was Freeman's 6th consecutive World Series game with a home run, breaking the previous record of 5. However, Anthony Volpe launched a grand slam in the 3rd inning to give the Yankees the lead, and University of Arizona alum Austin Wells tacked on with a solo shot in the 6th inning. The Yankees never surrendered the lead from there, and they claimed Game 4 of a final score of 11-4. However, the game got very interesting in the bottom of the 1st inning. Outfielder Mookie Betts was greeted by a Yankees fan, and let's just say this fan was not trying to make friends. The fan interfered with Betts reaching in to take the ball out for the Yankees, and maybe that's just what they needed in that game. The fan, however, is banned from tonight's game. Here is Mookie Betts on the altercation.
When it comes to the person in play, it doesn't matter. If you lost, it's irrelevant. I'm fine, he's fine, everything's cool. That we lose the game, we lost the game, and that's what I'm kind of focused on. You got to turn the page and get ready for tomorrow.
Yeah, clearly emotions are high out at the World Series games, but as Denson Cortez reports, that has not stopped fans from filling the stadium seats and paying record prices for a chance to see their team play in the World Series.
All aboard the 4 train and arrive at Yankee Stadium. As the 2024 World Series has officially arrived. Kool and the Gang's Hollywood Swingin' perfectly describes this star-studded showdown between the New York Yankees and the Los Angeles Dodgers for now the 12th time.
Let's go! How you doing?
2 teams featuring passionate players and even more passionate fans.
Let's go, Yankees! Dodgers, you lose! You get nothing!
With so much history, how much are fans willing to spend to see the spectacle?
I was like before tax about 700, yeah.
That was about $1,100 each.
$12,000 you paid the most.
$12,000.
Is it worth to see your team for $12,000?
Obviously, I paid $12,000.
Awesome. Every fan doing whatever it takes to see this matchup, as ticket prices are among the most expensive in history.
The average ticket price at Dodger Stadium, $1,700. You compare that to right behind me at Yankee Stadium, $2,300. The second most expensive World Series in MLB history.
Even this New York family waiting outside in the cold, hoping for the chance to score a home run deal. On SeatGeek or some of these Ticketmasters for these
about $700 for a pair.
Okay.
And that's way up.
Using the average ticket price of $2,300 at Yankee Stadium, a person could pay 1 month's rent, 3 new iPhone 16s, a cheeseburger meal at In-N-Out, and Shake Shack burger from Shake Shack. You could get those meals 250 and 275 times. But a baseball game is a memorable moment. The lights, the camera, the action, America's pastime sport. But the World Series, now that's a once-in-a-lifetime moment, featuring 2 of the most historic teams.
Everything, brother. I mean, once in a lifetime, like, if they would have asked for $1 million, I would have paid it if I had it, right?
Your guys are Yankees? Anything you want to say?
Let's go, Yankees!
In New York, Denson Cortez, Cronkite News.
Thanks, Denson. Those are some expensive tickets. Game 5 is underway tonight in New York. And to the NBA, where memories of Kobe Bryant still live. The legend's death in 2020 shocked the basketball community, but he is still remembered in the city of Angels. Caleb Campero in our Los Angeles bureau has more on how Kobe Bryant's legacy lives on.
As the NBA regular season is underway, tributes of Laker legend Kobe Bryant echo the admiration that Los Angeles still has nearly 5 years after his death.
When going around Los Angeles, it is no surprise to see Bryant's likeness plastered on the wall on what seems like every street, especially in downtown. Although Los Angeles has had many athletes and celebrities memorialized, what is it about Bryant that has shopkeepers saying yes to artists?
We're going to say yes because he was a legend. He helped the community. He was a family-oriented person, and he was very focused and determined. It seemed like he gave his best every day.
Bryant's 5 championships with the Lakers are monumental, but it seems Bryant's personality was the real legacy.
Kobe, to me, is the icon. He's a person that shows you hard work and dedication, the love of basketball, and just a person that was a father figure.
There are 343 murals of Kobe alone in Southern California, with many featuring Bryant's daughter Gigi, who unfortunately passed away with him in 2020. That said, the murals keep coming with no signs of slowing down.
I don't think it's never going to stop. He's a legend. The land of milk and honey, you're in LA, so, the Laker fans, they're crazy about him.
As time goes on, we can see that the relationship between Bryant's legacy and Los Angeles is still very much alive and well. In Los Angeles, Caleb Campero, Cronkite News.
Thank you for that package. Kobe's legacy is truly missed in Los Angeles. ASU running back Raleek Brown is out for the season due to a hamstring injury. Brown has taken a medical redshirt year, which prevents him from losing a season of eligibility.
Raleek is out still with his hamstring. For that reason, we're going to medically redshirt him this year. So he's going to be out for the season. No point to bring him back for 2 to 3 games, and we could use a medical and get him 100% healthy, because I don't know if we're going to be able to get him 100% healthy this year.
Good news, ASU fans. With one Devil going down with an injury, another returns. Kenny Dillingham announced earlier today that quarterback Sam Leavitt will start this Saturday at Oklahoma State after missing the team's game at Cincinnati. And on the pitch, ASU women's soccer team hosted the Territorial Cup against their rivals U of A last weekend. It was their last home game before they head to the Big 12 tournament. ASU lost in a close game 1-0 to the Wildcats, and despite the loss, the team stays hopeful going into the first round of the tournament, where the Sun Devils will take on Kansas.
But honestly, just got to look at the film again. I don't think that we were outplayed tonight. So sometimes it's like, well, you have a tendency as a coach to try and fix things, and when it's not too broken. And so we need to see how broken it was tonight. Obviously we've lost the game, so something's broken. But is it something that we need to fix drastically, or just have another 10% and turn that 1-0 defeat into a victory?
And that's all with the Sports Report. Once again, I'm DeAndre Sanders.
Coming up next, a discovery perfect for Halloween.
Some mystery markings discovered in an old Tudor house in England. We'll have more on these mysterious marks after the break.
The scientists and engineers that support the next mission to Mars could be in this class.
Getting a degree at ASU is a journey that can take you anywhere. Into a world of groundbreaking technology and renowned award-winning faculty. Professors who help you to impact the world. Whether you're on campus or at home, becoming your best starts with learning from the best.
And just in time for Halloween, a spooky discovery was made in a house in New England, or in England. My apologies.
An old Tudor homeowner found some odd carvings inside their home. Carvings called witches' marks were found inside this house. The marks date back to the year 1596 and are supposed to fend off evil spirits and witches. And if that's not scary enough, the charity which discovered the markings believe a curse was put on the former owner. This comes after his name was found written upside down, and defacing someone's name was believed to be a way of cursing that person.
That's it for tonight's edition of Cronkite News. I'm Wilder Adams.
And I'm Anna McClure. Thank you for joining us. And to see top Arizona stories anytime, log on to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.